In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create the lightsaber effect in Photoshop. I am so super excited for this one. Such a rad thing to do. So let's get it. One of the absolute most coolest things ever about doing Star Wars toy photography is, without a doubt, creating the lightsaber. The lightsaber just adds that added pizzazz to your photo. It makes it look realistic to the franchise and the series, and it's just such a badass thing to do. Like, as a kid, man, with like lightsabers and whatnot, it's just like, whoa, and being able to just create them in Photoshop, it's magic at its best. So I'm going to show you how we're going to create that in Photoshop today. Now, there is tons of lightsaber tutorials out there, and I've tried a few, and I've stumbled across one that I think is probably my favorite at the moment, and one that's really simple. So let's jump into Photoshop and I'll show you exactly how we're doing that. All right, jumping into Photoshop here, obviously you can see we have got this epic image going on of a battle during the Clone Wars with Mastering Mace, wielding his lightsaber high in the air, urging his troops to move forward. So let's create the lightsaber effect going on over here. So how we're going to do that is very simple. What we're going to do is create a brand new layer by clicking this button over here. New layer, yeah boy. What we're going to do is we're going to get our brush tool. So what we want to do is a couple of things here. First of all, make sure that your brush is set to the white color over here, and probably point that right up there. Second of all, brush settings. So first of all, size is going to solely depend on, you know, your lightsaber, and then the hardness. The one that I found has worked best for me is having my hardness at 50%. A lot of people have it at 100%, but for trial and error and what I found, 50% works for me. But you can obviously play around with this yourself. Another thing that you can play around with is whether you actually want the lightsaber blade in your photo. You can have it in there, which I tend to do most of the time. To be fair, it's cool to have that as like a guide when it comes to the length. However, you can, you know, take the photo without the blade there as well and just make the length, width, and whatever it is that you want it to be. You know, the sky's the limit, as I always say over here. Anyway, so now we've got our brush, hardness 50%, white. What we're going to do, probably zoom in for this one. Okay, so we've got the lightsaber over here. So what we want to do, once we've lined this up, come on, bro. So what we want to do is click on the hilt. Just click once and you'll get this little dot appear over here. Hold down Shift and then go to the end of your saber, wherever it is you want it to be. Click again, and that is going to create a perfectly straight line. Fantastic. Now we have our lightsaber here. Now, if for any reason it's not exactly how you want it in terms of its placement, you can hold Control or Command and then press T, which will allow you to transform. You can, like, obviously rotate the image. You can make it bigger. You can make it smaller, all that good stuff. But for me, I'm pretty happy with where that is. So let's move into the magic of making this lightsaber, one, glow, and two, change its color to match Mace's theme. So what we're going to do is, let's call this lightsaber just so we know what's going on here. Right click, and we're going to go to the blending options right over here. Once that is done, we'll get this little box appear over here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click outer glow. So as you can see, we've got this kind of messy mergy thing going on. So what I want to do is I'm going to change the blend mode over to screen, and then we're going to change the color by clicking this little box over here. Mace, I believe, obviously has a darker purple tone to him, so let's go for there. Let's have a look. Does that look about right? I'd say so. Maybe a little bit darker, perhaps a little bit more darker. See, yeah, that's fine. Right, now what we can do here in the elements section is we can actually affect the outer glow, how much of a glow we want. We want like the size of the glow as well. So what I tend to do, what works for me anyway, is to probably have my spread around about 22, and then I get my size probably, let's have a look, about 196. I think that looks right. Again, this one is trial and error. Just work with this, see what works for your particular image. But for this one, I like that. I like that. We're going to keep the opacity as well at 100% because we've got that nice glow going on over here. Range and jitter, again, this can affect the size of the glow. I tend to keep mine around about 50%-ish. That will be absolutely fine. Right, so the next part, the pizzazz of this is going to be an inner glow. So click inner glow over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to affect the color within the blade just to give it that extra bit of life. So to do this, instead of screen, we're going to go over to linear light for this one. Perfect. All right, I'm going to choose our color. So we want a kind of a lighter color of the purple, so to speak, just to add in those highlights. Let's have a look. How does that look? Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I am happy with that, but obviously we want to affect what's going on here. I tend to turn the opacity down by about 15% for this one, so like about 85%, so it's a subtle kind of look. What we're going to do is we're going to bring this choke down, so we're going to work with the elements again. Choke probably around about just 1%, I think works fine. It just brings that down. It doesn't make it as in your face as it once was. Size, probably going to keep that at 24, but up to you. Obviously it depends on how much of an effect you want going on here. Maybe even like 16 looks pretty cool actually. Yeah, I like that. And obviously again, you can control the range. I think about 75%, maybe 80. Let's go 75. 75 is nice and round, which looks really cool. Keep our jitter at 0. Doesn't really do a lot from what I remember, but I just keep it at 0 anyway. So there we go. Hit OK on that, and boom. If we zoom out, we have got a beautiful, beautiful lightsaber effect going on there. Now, you could have that as your finished product. Boom, bam, you've got your lightsaber. However, we want to add that extra flair, so to speak. We want to make this a bit more epic, and it's just good fun to do. So there's a few things that we can do here. The first is going to be adding a lens flare. So back into Photoshop. So we're going to go right over here. See where this hilt is here. It kind of, I don't like that, but we're going to add some artistic flair to this. So let's zoom out a little bit. Now, to get the lens flare, you can go through like Google or anything like that. Just type in like lens flare overlay or lens flare PNG. Just make sure it has a black background, because that's how we're going to achieve this effect. So I'm going to drag my flare in here. Look at her, big beast, big beast. Right, so hold down Option or Shift, and that will allow you to resize it while keeping everything within proportion, just so we know what we're working with over here. Right, what we're going to do, obviously this has got the black background that I mentioned, so change your blending mode from normal over to screen, and here we go. We have our lens flare doing its thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this up to make it look really, really cool. Zoom in a little bit for this. Obviously, again, Control or Command T to transform and resize. Hold down Option or Alt just to get what we're after. We're just going to line this up. Probably about there. Obviously, we can't really see it. We've got this box around there, and we want to change the color. So there's a few things we're going to do. So first, Control or Command and U. So this is going to bring up the hue and saturation. We're going to change the color to match the lightsaber. So hit colorize just over here, and we're going to bring this over into those purples, that dark purple to match that. We're going to bring that saturation up as well to make it really, really pop. That is what we're after. And then probably bring the lightness down a little bit more, or no, actually keep that where it is. So right, the color's been changed, but you're saying to me, boy, what is this square around here? Sometimes you'll get that with these images. It's fine. How are we going to resolve this? I will show you. So Control or Command and L is going to bring up the levels over here. So what we want to do is this little arrow here, we're going to bring the darks in, and oh yeah, that square be going. But we're going to make this glow as well. So hit the middle little arrow here, which is going to affect the midtones, and just bring that up ever so slightly. Obviously, this is all trial and error. Do this depending on your image. It will be different for you all, but obviously we have gotten rid of the box there, and we've changed the color, and it's just added that extra bit of to the lightsaber over there. So another thing we can do as well is we can add some glow from the lightsaber effect. So obviously this lightsaber is blaring light, so we maybe want to cast some shadow on like the back of Mace's head, maybe on his hand and whatnot. Now I did this in my blaster tutorial as well, so if you like, you can check that out, but I'll obviously just go through it again here for ease. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer under the lightsaber one. So same again, hit that little button there. What we're going to do is we're going to get our brush. We can probably keep, now let's bring the hardness down to 0 on this one. Obviously the size will depend on how big your subject is. Yeah, we can try that. We can try that. We can try that, people. We really can. Right, so what we want to do is we want to cast this purple glow onto Mace over here, but we want the color. So click the little color button down here. We get the little eyedropper tool. Click the purple that we want. Maybe make that a little bit darker. What we're going to do is just going to paint some light onto Mace. I might bring the opacity of my brush down just maybe about 70. And then we'll just paint some light onto Mace. Particularly want to get this back portion of him because obviously the lightsaber is above his head. So we cast a bit of light over here. We definitely want to get some light on his hand, maybe just a bit down over here. Just on the fingertips as well. Perfect. Maybe a bit spills just onto his armor. Who knows? Obviously, this is just a blurry kind of mess at the moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to change our blend option again from normal, this time over to color dodge. So obviously, it's blending a little bit better. But what we want to do is want to bring our fill down to probably around about 65%, I think usually works. And obviously, this, again, is dependent on your image. Mess around with this, and we'll bring the opacity down as well, probably to about 20... maybe 35 there, just to kind of highlight that out. So let's paint a little bit more on there if we want to paint a little bit more. Yeah, looks fine. Looks particularly good on his hand. Absolutely loving that. So obviously just spend some time going over this. If you do make some mistakes, you can create a layer mask by clicking this button over here and making sure your brush is on black to remove, and we can just get rid of some of the glow that has spilled off into the sky, or we can keep it there. It's all personal preference, really. So yeah, to remove black, and we'll probably just bring some of that light off here as well, which is perfect. Obviously, if you want to add stuff back in, say if we go boop and we get rid of that, we're like, oh, I don't want that, swap your brush back to white, boom, that colors it back in. Perfect. So if we zoom out, we can see we've got a little bit of glow to Mace here. Obviously, spend time on this, make it as good as it can be. Without the effect, there's that. With the effect, it just adds that extra bit of a pop to it. Now, one more thing we can do, if you'd like to, is you can add a bit of smoke under the Mace, the lightsaber, sorry, just to make it pop just a little bit more. So sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. It's really dependent on the image. So what we're going to do is probably below the glow, I'd say would look good. Create a brand new layer. There's loads of ways you can do smoke. You can get the smoke overlay, smoke PNGs, we can get some smoke brushes. I've got a smoke brush in this case. Right, so we've selected our smoke. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to keep that same color that I did with the glow. Zoom in a little bit. Bring that size up, probably around about there. And just paint some smoke in there just to make that bad boy pop a little bit more. Very subtle effect, but one that can make a big difference. We might just go over that flare as well, just to really beefing that out. And then boom, obviously spend time doing that. That's basically just a big blob. But again, what you can do is you can probably bring the fill down to make it not so in your face, maybe a bit of the opacity as well. Before, after, just makes it pop a little bit more. Obviously your final grade, your final edit, any other effects you're going to bring into this will help with this, but just as like extra touches to a lightsaber, I think that's awesome. Now I'm going to show you the final project over here once this has been completely edited, when I've added in all the other effects I want to do and the final color grade as well. It's also going to highlight to you that you can use this lightsaber effect for blasters as well, which I did in this case. So let me show you the final image right now. Boom, absolutely moody. And you can see how that lightsaber just pops a lot more there. But I also used it, obviously you can see I added in the low altitude transporters as well. They're firing off some blaster bolts, but those blaster bolts were made using the same effect as the lightsaber, and obviously we've got that clone trooper down there as well. I again used the same effect, so you don't just have to use this for lightsabers, you can use it for blasters as well. However, if you want to see more blaster tutorials, I do have one. I'll link that in the comment section below. But this is the final moody epic Clone Wars image there. Let me know what you think. And that is it for this lightsaber tutorial. I hope it helped. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can now go out and make some epic lightsabers. Like I said, like creating lightsabers just brings back the inner child in me so bad. I absolutely love it. There's tons of ways of doing lightsabers. Like I said, this was the easiest and like the method that probably for me is my favorite at the moment. This may change over time, so I may update this, I may not, but this is at the moment my absolute favorite. Hope you guys have fun making some lightsabers yourself. As always, make sure to tag me on Instagram if you do use this technique. I'd love to see what you guys have created. My handle is just down here. But guys, as always, hit that like button as it really does help me out. Hit the subscribe button for more toy photography tutorials, and I will see you very soon. So until then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.